I'm Jeremy Loffredo for Rebel News in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is the capital city of what's known as the freest country on earth. But it's also here in Washington, D.C., in the belly of the land of the free, that our most vulnerable demographic, young children, are facing the most restrictive, coercive, segregational, biomedical mandates out of anywhere in the country. Over the summer, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser announced her grand plan for, quote, securing Washington, D.C. public schools. This would be achieved through the accurately and yet brutally named No Shots, No School program. The mandates were announced at an event officially referred to as the Show and Tell event, meaning the government will show and tell parents its plan to coerce their families.
Good morning, everybody, to Mary Center for Totem. We're here today to talk about the campaign No Shots, No School.
The Show and Tell event started with a well-spoken health official explaining to the city that the vaccines are safe and effective. She was very convincing.
Vaccines save lives. Vaccines are safe. They're very effective. And I guarantee you that children that are vaccinated thrive at school, thrive in their life, and it's really because they were vaccinated and got these amazing tools.
She also explained that her generation used to receive vaccines for diseases that have now been, quote, disappeared off Earth.
Each vaccine matters. Each vaccine has a crucial role, and they're different. I want to remind people that we, at my age, used to get vaccines that are no longer existing for children or adults because we disappeared the disease of Earth.
While the diseases she's referring to remain unclear, it is clear that the COVID vaccine, which the No Shot, No School program mandates, will not disappear COVID off Earth, and it was never made for that. This fact is no longer controversial. Another health official explained that before the school year starts, agents of the city's health bureaucracy will be sending letters and calling the houses of families with unvaccinated children.
D.C. will fully enforce the No Shots, No School immunization policy this upcoming school year.
So if you get one of these letters, if you get one of these calls, please heed the message. Please take your child in to be immunized. And then that way your child can stay in school.
On top of the mandate, the city made clear that they will be offering no online learning option to students who are barred from receiving their education in school, meaning if you don't receive the COVID vaccine, you will not receive any education. Leading the fight to take away education from unvaccinated students are the self-proclaimed liberal progressives. These policies will inevitably lead to racial segregation of DC students. According to the Washington Post, wards 5 and 8 in Washington, D.C. are the most, quote, non-compliant areas in the city in regards to vaccine uptake. Not only are these wards the poorest two wards in the city, but these wards are also 54% black and 91% black, respectively. Meaning the so-called progressive leaders in Washington, D.C., while vocally cheering for racial equity in communities of color, have no problem taking all options of education away from black children if they don't submit to the experimental jab. In Ward 8, only 40% of eligible children are vaccinated against COVID, which is far lower than the city average. This means a whopping 60% of their children will not be eligible to receive any type of education. When presented with these unsavory facts, Mayor Muriel Bowser simply lied and said these numbers were not true.
And the question I have is that we have reporting that around 40% of black students in the district are unvaccinated, and therefore, under the district's current policy regarding schools, will be unable to attend school come the school semester starting. So why is the district continuing with this policy when it seems to disproportionately impact black students?
I don't think that number is correct.
These self-proclaimed left-wing progressives are bringing the coercive, for-profit, biomedical security state into the classroom and weaponizing it against the most at-risk people in society, poor children. While wealthy families who disagree with the mandate can put their kids into a private school, these children, who, as we saw during lockdowns, depend on school not only for educations, but also necessities like their breakfast and lunch meals, will be forced to get vaccinated or face possible hunger, and all of the other problems not getting an education causes. These problems can be lifelong. It's textbook coercion against all families in D.C. A.O. Comiti, a local organizer and parent who's been fighting the vaccine mandates in D.C., has been trying to tell its city council members about the harmful side effects of these vaccines.
What we have is a quiet resistance. Most of our people, black people, don't trust these injections. We are leery of the federal government, particularly anything that's free. So there's a general quiet resistance where people don't want to get this for their children. And then when they find out these things are mandated, when they find out, because most times they don't announce it publicly, when they find out it's a mandate, they look for a way out. So they're looking for the exemption forms. But then there's also some cognitive dissonance where it's hard for people to believe someone in the government would come to give my children something that they know is harmful for them. Traditionally, it's easy. All we have to do is say, hey, they're targeting black people for harm. When our people hear that, we've heard of Tuskegee, we pull out. This one has become a little more tricky because they're targeting white people, Asians, Hispanics, and black people. So when you go to a black person and say, hey, they're targeting us, they say, what are you talking about? The white folks are coming in our community getting lined up to get the injections. So if they're taking it, it must be safe too. We as black people have never experienced white Americans under siege. So now we have two things to convince them of. Hey, this is harmful for everybody. And in particular, since we as black people haven't been taking it, now they're trying to zero in on our community and create laws that force us who are reluctant to take this to take these injections. We've sent an email directly to the mayor, to everybody on the city council. And we said, here are the harmful effects that are listed by Pfizer, over 1,200 of them. Here's documentation that are saying VAERS, that are saying the number of people that are dying. This is the most harmful things that are classified as medication in the history of this country.
If you want to keep up to date with my reports from New York and get the other side of the story, go to rebelnews.com.